Hey everybody, it's Josh from Lions on the Path. I want to talk today about the atheistic claims and fallacies that they make, just a few of them real quick. One being that extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence, but I'm here to talk about how Jesus Christ gives us extraordinary evidence. We first look at the wealth of evidence that is in the historical reportage model. Now, there is no figure in antiquity, which is ancient human history, that comes close to the wealth of evidence that Jesus Christ has. He is the most studied figure in human history. He has changed the world more than any figure in human history. A poor carpenter from Nazareth. And you think about the four Gospels, then you think about the extra biblical writings, you think about the epistles from the apostles, which are the letters to the churches at the time. You think about all of these, the written accounts, and how they get such amazing details right. They get details about first century Judea and Israel and Jerusalem to a T. In fact, archaeologists often find places that are mentioned in the Bible that they would have no idea what they were, except for they were mentioned in the Bible. So the historical reportage model goes by these multiple written accounts, biblical, but yes, there's also extra biblical, but Christians no need to really take those too seriously because we are told to take the word of the Bible seriously, the word of God seriously. I understand that atheists claim that the Bible cannot be used to prove the Bible, which is absolutely ridiculous. The Bible is not just one book by one author, it is multiple books by multiple authors, and those books combine to tell a complete and compelling story, one that is available to everyone for our salvation. But you look at the historical reportage model, you look at the details that they get right, the names that are absolutely matched. 86%, I believe, was how closely they matched the popular names at the time of Israel and Judea and Jerusalem, while you have later Gospels, Gnostic Gospels, which are not in canon. What reason? They have names that do not match the time. They obviously have the big names like Jesus and Judas and things like this, but the other names are names that are popular at the time in Egypt. So because they are popular at the time in Egypt, we know when they were written due to what names were popular at what time in Egypt, or whatever area they were written in. You have actually geological records. Now, when Jesus Christ died on the cross, it was said there was an earthquake there near Jerusalem. And that earthquake has been actually verified by geological records. There was an earthquake at almost exactly the same time as Jesus Christ died. We don't know the exact date that he died, but we know it was somewhere around 2025 years ago. How do we know this? Well, the entire calendar changed for the world. Yet another, yes, I guess small piece of evidence, but one where the entire world recognizes that Jesus Christ is God, because our very date confirms it. So we go by all of the archaeological finds. I used to not include the Shroud of Turin, but now I believe the Shroud of Turin is absolutely evidence leading to the case for Christ. The Shroud of Turin cannot be proven, cannot be understood, cannot be replicated. We can prove through radiation tests that were performed recently that the Shroud of Turin is in fact from the 1st century Israel. We found pollens from the trees that were only native to that area. We also have a test that was done in the 80s which disproved it, saying it was from the Middle Ages, but that test was flawed because that test was taken from a piece of the cloth that was actually burnt in a fire in the Middle Ages. And this is why the carbon dating was off. But when we redid the test in a more sophisticated way with the radiation test, we see that the Shroud of Turin actually holds a lot of weight. Now, another point to add to the case of Christ is the fact of the personal revelation to billions of people. The life-changing revelations to billions of people around the globe. Right now, there are Muslims in Iran and all over the Middle East, and they are having vivid dreams of Jesus Christ and leaving the Islamic faith and coming to the one true faith of Christianity. These have been happening since the time of Christ. These have been changing people's lives. I am a testimony to this. I was to the point where I did not want my life to go on, and I prayed to God for the first time genuinely, not praying to the Christian God, by the way, praying to any God who would be listening, not thinking there was a God listening, and God answered me within minutes, profoundly changing my life, going from a person who was crippled by social anxiety, who'd been disabled and suffering, living in poverty for 13 years, to someone who goes and talks to people, complete strangers, like they've been my best friends for decades. Someone who feels a love that is so deep and profound that it literally guides my footsteps. I could go on and on about this, but watch my testimony video to get a little bit extra understanding of how it transformed my life. So we have the personal revelations, which atheists don't like to use because they say that's just delusion. And if it was just these personal revelations, that would be enough for most people. It would be enough for me. If it happens to you, it'd be enough for you. But I understand that a logical thinker, air quotes, a logical thinker will not accept that as testimony. But again, we add that on to the case. When we're building a case in a court of law, we add that on because while it cannot be proven, there is repeatable evidence of it. It has been repeated throughout history since the time of Jesus Christ. Maybe the first great revelation of Christ being the Apostle Paul when he was on the road to Damascus to go kill more Christians. And Jesus Christ shows up, turning him from the ultimate enemy of Christianity to the ultimate ally of Christianity, the ultimate evangelist for Christianity. Now, many people have had this road to Damascus moment. Many people have felt the profound nature. I'm not talking about just simple people who go by blind faith, because we are not called by blind faith. We are called by a power that is higher than this reality, higher than this world. We are called by God. You have intellectuals like Jordan Peterson, and then you have simple people. And that in itself adds yet another piece of the puzzle to the extraordinary evidence. The extraordinary evidence shows us that the power of God is simple enough to call the simplest people and profound enough to call the most intellectual people. To me, that is one of the most beautiful things. Why would a loving God only be there so confusing, so unable to understand, unless you are some hyper-intellectual, some scholar who they don't usually want God anyway, a lot of times. A lot of times the philosophical-minded people, while they say they're seeking truth, they reject truth when it is apparent and in their face. They're saying that, oh, well, I cannot believe the supernatural because that is irrational. They already believe, atheists do, they already believe in two great miracles. They believe that everything came from nothing, 400 billion trillion stars coming from nothing, and they believe that rational life began from non-rational matter and energy. We see this truth. Those of us who've been called, those of us who've answered the calling, we see the truth is more apparent than anything that we can see in this world. And the fact that you say that you must scientifically prove God, or that you must have these repeatable claims and scientific evidence, is absolutely ridiculous. Or that God must be in plain sight so everyone can see him. He is in plain sight, and everyone can see him. You just literally are looking the wrong way. Science and mathematics are absolutely, they're a great thing. They are absolutely wonderful to have. In fact, Christians began almost every branch of science and mathematics. Christians began hospitals, public hospitals. Christians began public schools and universities. Because it all comes from God, it comes from Christ. And it drives with love and compassion Christians who are serving God to go out and do these things to help the betterment of mankind. Yet another piece of evidence to add on to the mountain of evidence, the extraordinary evidence that Christ gives us. I get it. I get it, that he is not standing right next to us for us to plainly see. But if you seek genuinely, you will find. If you knock, the door will be open to you. But you must seek with a genuine heart. A genuine heart means you must stop hanging on to the things of this world. The things of this world will bring you only into darkness. The things that truly matter in this world are not of science or not of mathematics. They are of a philosophical issue, and they are things like relationship and love. And these are the things that Jesus Christ drives you into deeper forms of. He tells you to love even your enemy. He tells you to have radical love and forgiveness and compassion for all. Lifting up the poor, lifting up the weak and the oppressed. All right, everybody, I'm going to get off of here. I just wanted to do a quick video on this because I was thinking about it. But I will talk to you soon. God bless.